guys, if you're interested in my art and want to commission a piece, contact me through my Gmail at natnickyartcommissions@gmail.com. Details and contact links are in the description down below. Now enjoy the video. Hey guys, it's Nikki here bringing you a sketchbook tour. I've been meaning to do this for the longest time, and now it's finally doing. This is going to more than likely be a series because I have a ton of sketchbooks that I've used over the years, and so far I'm using this one, which I've been using for the past 3 years. This is probably the longest I've been using a sketchbook because normally I go through a sketchbook in about a year or so, and then I just get a new one, and so on and so forth. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you'll probably recognize a good chunk of the pictures in here. I also post some of these on my Redbubble account for merchandise. So I've had this book since 2014, and I've only started recently using it in 2016. So this is the first page you will see when you open this book. This is a picture of Amy as Queen with curly hair, with her bangs like that and all long quills. I've always liked to imagine how Amy would look with a bit of a stylish quill design, so I kind of gave that into her design. And I also was practicing with my Shinchan touch twin markers, and unfortunately they bleed through. The next page is a sketch I did back with Steven Universe. This was back when Blue Pearl, I think, was introduced into the series. If you guys don't know, I recommend that show. It's really cool. And I did a little bit of a galaxy theme. I have to finish it. I actually might want to finish this later on. I'll have to see. This is a reference picture I did during my last semester at college. I'm not into realism, and I'm also not very fond of drawing men, so this was actually a very good practice for me, despite how much I despised my teacher. She had good things, I'm not gonna lie. She did teach me a couple of things, but overall I found her very overbearing. Some notes from one of my series, and there's another reference photo. Oh, Disney must see. More notes. A character design of my character Genie from one of my series. I actually do like doing semi-realism because it's actually a bit of a challenge mixing in cartoon aspects with realistic aspects. Get some pages. And then here's a picture of Amy where I was practicing with polychromos colored pencils. I still like how this picture came out though, especially with the shading on this, because sometimes with the quills, if you notice, the shading comes here because there's like a little inner part of the quill. Random sketch I did of a girl going through a spa day. This is my character Sasha, who you all might recognize from my Zodiac drawing when I reviewed the Fantasia pencils. Honestly, out of all the Zodiac characters, I draw her the most. It used to be her sister Ion, which is the Libra in my series, but I love drawing her because I just love drawing sexy characters. She just has a very model-esque design, even as a child. More notes. This is actually from one of my fan fictions. I'm not going to give away all that, but this is also one of my fan fictions of a Zelda character I designed. This eye. Every time I look at this drawing, this eye bothers me because of how separated it is from the nose compared to this eye. This eye is actually very fine. It's actually very good right here. But no, this one is big and it's out. It's very out. Practicing more with Shinchan markers. I was doing a background that didn't go out so well, like a waterfall scenario, but I hated that I drew these flowers. It just... This was when this sketch was when I was on a cruise ship, 2 years ago, I think? Yeah, 2 years ago. And we didn't have a good Wi-Fi service, so I just had to draw in from my mind. And so I decided to draw one of my characters. This is one of the characters I drew, just a random girl from my Princess Ingenue series. And I was also practicing again with perspective. A sketch of myself in a very Parisian style. I call it Parisian style because every time I think of Paris, I think of these kinds of drawings and illustrations. This is just me in my romper, and I elongated with elongated legs. Very exaggerating with this picture, but I like how exaggerated it is. It's very cute. This illustration is of Princess Ingenue and one of her main suitors in my story, an elven prince, and I was practicing with a very sensual scene. I do want to color this piece, but I want to do it on Photoshop, or at least a digital piece, and I was just practicing with angles and hands, especially male hands. So this was one of them with perspective, again with the practicing of the angles of the face. I wanted to practice with more than one character and a little bit of the background, so this is what I got, and I love how it came out. Yeah. Here, and this is where my sketches come into play with this particular series, my Monster Maniac series. You guys have seen a couple of videos where I've done a couple of drawings from the characters from that story. This is my rendition of the Bride of Frankenstein named Mary. I kind of gave her a bit of a Sally vibe from Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah, this is the Bride of Frankenstein. I gave her a name named Mary. I think I named her after one of the characters from the actual story. I have to look into it again. Then we have Sasha and her sister Ion again. This is when I was practicing again with some comic styles with a bit of illustration in mind. This is where Sasha is working and I got into a fight at school. This is my rendition of Jack the Ripper, and he's one of the main characters from my Monster Maniac series. One problem that I always have, and it's always a big problem for me, I have a character in mind as a reference for a character I want to design, but more than once I always end up drawing the character from the reference. So I had to think of a bunch of other characters to come up with his design. But one of the fun things about that is that I always ask people who they think of when they see a character. Because sometimes, yeah, every now and again you see a character from a video game or from a movie or anything, and they remind you of a certain character in terms of design and personality. Next we have my character Katsumi Fujitani from my Naruto fanfiction, just her cleaning up dishes. She's actually one of my favorite characters to draw. But yeah, this is just a scenario. I just wanted to draw her like cleaning up dishes. She's just a lot of fun to draw. Next, we have another character from my Monster Maniac series, and you can tell right off the bat, the main reference for this picture was Jasmine from Aladdin. While that is said, I also did use another reference from a Netflix movie called Sahara, I believe. It's a movie about snakes, and I did use that as a reference, especially in the facial area on the eyes. So I did mix that in with a bit of a realistic look of the hair, but I just added a little bit of realism because I was just bored, and I wanted to play around with the hair, so that's how it looks like that. The character I have in mind for this is the Genie of the Ring from my story, and I named her Roya. Next we have another character from one of my other fanfictions. This is Hotaru, one of the three main protagonists from my Inuyasha fanfiction. Yet another fanfiction I have yet to work on. Inuyasha is one of the first anime that I got into as a kid, and I love it so much, so I wanted to make something out of it. I have the two other characters, but they're in another sketchbook, so when I do another sketchbook tour, I'll let you guys know about that. There's another character from my Monster Maniac series, the Dr. Jekyll Mr. Hyde rendition. This is how he looks as Dr. Jekyll, and this is my concept of him as Mr. Hyde. Mr. Hyde I had a lot of fun figuring out because I had an idea of what I wanted him to look like regardless. I just thought of gremlins, and I used to hate the gremlins, so I kind of used that as an inspiration. The hair needs work though. As for the human version, I need to think of someone wholesome, but that doesn't look too suspicious. Next we have my main character's mother. You guys might recognize her. Her name is Lola Martinez. I was figuring out the color scheme. I loved how their hair came out, but the skin tone was totally off. She's actually a lot more tan. Next we have one of the other characters I have in mind for my Monster Maniac series, Wendy Long. She is a Chinese dragon. And down here I was just drawing Moana because around that time I was reading some Moana fanfiction that I got a little into. I think I used one of the artists that I follow's drawings to draw this one. I can't remember in the top of my head, but I wanted to see if I could actually draw in that style. This was around the time Hurricane Irma came to Florida. When Hurricane Irma came, we went to Disney to the shelters because you guys didn't know, some of the hotels, resorts are shelters for hurricanes. I literally just went to Disney just to stay in the shelter because it was going to hit hard where we were living, and we decided to go there for safety. Thankfully, everything was okay. There was just mostly damage from the backyard, but the power was off, and this was like the third day of no power and no hot water, so this is just me in a bucket, and it says day 3 of no power, only satisfied with undercoat shower. Alright, this character is from my Monster Maniac series. She's one of the normal human characters. Her name is Tia Naomi Alu Robbins. I've mixed in 2 characters to design this character. I mixed in Moana and I mixed in Nani from Lilo and Stitch. This is also good practice because I've done athletic builds for females, but it never really turned out well, so this was like the first time I actually got it pretty close to how I want it to be in terms of her character, especially with perspective. So this is another perspective drawing I did of her face angle, along with how I did it with the body, because normally I just do the face. And there's another one where I practice her body again. My Monster Maniac series again is another character, a human character named Sharon. Another character, and I based him off of Jafar. He's a genie, yes. You can tell obviously from the reference that I'm using, but I'm kind of like change it up a little bit, more of a realistic style again, but still cartoonesque. I'm still have to figure out his design, but that's how it is, and this is how his body kind of looks. My cousin loves this character so much, so now is when I started drawing more poses, and this is my character Lola Martinez again, how her body looks. I actually started drawing these to not just practice with poses, but also I had in mind to do color schematics of the characters in wardrobe, so I would use transfer paper to sketch this again, and then I would put it on another paper with the same pose, but just add different outfits for the characters and also color schemes. If you guys are interested in that, let me know in the comments down below. I'll show you guys. Very model-esque. More sketches from the same series, some hairstyle drawings. This is just Cobra Bubbles with a beard and a mustache. And this is my succubus character from the same series. Some environmental sketches. I took a sketchbook somewhere and I wanted to draw something and practice with it. My cousin, this is actually my cousin's drawings. She wanted to take the sketchbook and just draw random things, and this is just some of them. This is Tia again. This is when I was practicing more of a pose for her, and I was actually practicing more, not just with the pose, but with the practice of the perspective, because this hand comes out more, as well as this leg comes out more. So she's kind of doing like an athletic pose to show how energetic she is. This is Lisa, the main character from my series. This is her as a teenager. This is probably the only one where I actually drew her outfit, because I love her outfit. It's a very simple outfit. It's a sweater with just skinny jeans and boots. And there's a difference between how she poses from here to how she posed as a kid. And I think I have that in this picture, in this book too. This is one of the other characters. This is Jack, not Jack the Ripper. This is another character named Jack. He's actually one of the main love interests for Lisa, and this is Jack's mother right here. And I just love how they came out. And this is my rendition of the Wolfman. He's still going through a bunch of changes. I just recently changed his hair. I gave it more of a Doctor Strange vibe to it. And this is one of my succubus characters, just practicing more with figures and poses. If you guys notice from how I draw female figures, I mostly draw them very curvaceous with, bigger thighs, like skinny waist, big breasts. That's how I usually draw, and a lot of people think that's hard to draw. It's actually really hard for me to draw smaller breasts. I'm trying to be more open with how I draw female figures too, because it's also good practice for me. There's another character. There's a Russian neighbor to Tia, and this is just a scenario of Tia riding her bike with her glasses on, saying hi to Lisa, who's going to school. There's another character named Kelly. She's one of I want to say Lisa's frenemies, because they got off on the wrong foot and it's kind of weird with her character, but this is also another practice. I've never really been good at drawing kids' bodies. There's still some problems with this body, but I like how it came out so far. And here's my Wendy Long character, the Chinese dragon. I gave her a bit of a Bayonetta style pose because I was practicing with elongated legs again. Another reference I could use for Sailor Moon, because they were like the epitome of long legs. My rendition of the Frankenstein's monster, and I need to draw his body for it, but I switched up the bolts on his neck to his neck instead of on his forehead, because that's where traditionally they are. This is part of my Inktober challenge back in 2017. I did a goldfish, or some kind of goldfish. I do want to put this in one of my merchandise on Redbubble or any other merchandise I have in mind, because I do love how this came out as both an ink drawing and a colored piece, so I have to eventually do that with that picture. And then it's just a cute little fox that I did from one of my Inktober pieces with a star. Again, practicing with poses. I'm not really too happy with this one. I was trying to draw something from using the Kingdom Hearts style that didn't really go so well. I loved how the lower half came out and a little bit of the torso and this arm, but this arm is not working with me. Everything else is a little bit She just looks too squished is the problem. This is from one of my stories. It's very light. I don't know. Hang on. It's very light. Yeah, this is how it looks. Now this is one of my favorite characters. He is another character from my Monster Maniac series. His name is Luke, and I based him off of Maui and of Gaston. How I did is I used Maui's face as a reference and a bit of Gaston as well, but for the body type I just mixed them both with their styles as well. He has more of Gaston's body because I gave it more of a muscly build. Gaston is actually a very good reference for the muscle toned build, and I love the man bun. I just love man buns. I think they're sexy. And I started drawing him more just to practice, and this is him with long hair, kind of like an Aquaman vibe. Practicing more perspectives, especially with muscles. Big muscly guys are actually really hard for me, and I have a bunch of them that I've drawn over the years. So this was actually a very good practice for me, especially with cartoons. This is actually how he normally looks. He always wears the man bun, but he always wears the hat, just I guess to protect it. Because let's face it, there's certain hair types that need to be protected from the heat or in the heat. It depends on your hair type, and he has one of those hair types that need to be protected. Another drawing from Monster Maniac series with Tia. This is just like another comic panel drawing. I think I want to do this as actually a picture too for my merchandise. And this is just a scene where like she's talking, like a speech bubble will be right here and maybe right here of her talking to Lisa. Okay. Let me explain. This is actually one of my favorite drawings. So I've been meaning to draw a boogeyman character for my Monster Maniac series, and this was around the time when The Grinch came out from Illuminations, and I love that movie. movie so much. I think I've said that before in one of my videos. I needed to mix in something because I didn't just want to, once again, I didn't just want to use the Grinch as a reference, otherwise I would just draw the Grinch. And yes, you could still plainly see I used the Grinch as a reference, but I also see other references that I've used. I've used references such as Beetlejuice, I've used the Boogeyman from the Powerpuff Girls episode, and I've used other characters. Oh, I've used Nurgle from Billy and Mandy. I just love this suit. I love this little contrast thing I'm going on with his shoes, his formal wear, and everything. I love the hat so much. There is a bit of his character that I do have in mind, but I don't want to spoil it because it's still in the making. But there's another character from the series, and he's just very ugh. And this is just another thing of the Boogeyman. This is where I was practicing the smile because that was one of the biggest things I was afraid of, because since I was using the Grinch, we all know how his nefarious smile is one of the best things about him. And this was one of them. You still see it, but at the same time I was practicing it. It's just a little bit of practice. But there's another character named Claudia. I actually fixed up her legs when I was doing the transfer, using the transfer paper to do this, but she's a little bit too short. Her legs need to be a lot longer compared to her body. She is the daughter of Dracula. This is one of the brides of Dracula, and the bride that actually is Dracula's bride. She is the mother of Claudia and the wife of Dracula. Her name is Mina, who I named after, I think, the girl, the human character from the Bram Stoker book. One of the things I love about drawing them is I really wanted to do a Morticia kind of vibe, and that's what I did here. Okay, here we have a bit of things going on. This is Claudia's brother. I think I named him Julian. I based him off of Shaggy. It's very odd, but you can very much tell from this picture here, where he's smiling, that he just has a Shaggy vibe to him. Without even realizing, because this was way before I started getting into Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I mixed in Spike from the series. So, and the funny thing is, with the color scheme, I had the similar design for Spike from Buffy and the Vampire Slayer, so I kind of implement that into his design. He's like the funny brother kind of thing, but he also has like that bad boy escapade going on. This is one of the brides of Dracula named Yvonne. She is the older sister of the trio, and she's also the shortest. I gave her a bit of a frumpy design. Next we have my OC character from the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, Max, and this was when I was actually practicing burnishing. I think I was using either the Fantasia colored pencils or the U brand color pencils. I can't remember which one. Next we have more characters from my Monster Maniac series. This is Phoebe. She is the daughter of the Wolfman, and I love her design, especially her hair. I actually recently inked this too. It was originally sketched, but I love her design. She is so adorable. This is April, which is one of the witches from my Monster Maniac series. This is how she looks normally throughout the series. I also have glasses in store for her, which I think I drew later on in the book. And this is still a sketch of my rendition of Dracula. I do like overall how it's coming along, but I need to see if I should give him some facial hair, maybe. And I also need to design his coat because I don't want it to be just a simple Dracula design, but I also don't want to be too over the top, even though it's Dracula. Next we have just an illustration piece from the story. This is Lisa's, one of the few days that when she came to the Hollow Groves, which is the main setting for the story. It's just a little simple scene of Lisa showing her love of books. Next we have just the drawing. I tried to draw Kylie from my Zodiac series. She's the Aries, but I don't know why I stopped drawing this. This is a picture I was practicing with from my Sonic the Hedgehog fanfiction as Shadow is King, and this is how I designed Rouge in the future. And this is from my Monster Maniac series. I was just drawing a random character from the story because there's like NPCs. That's the best way I can put it, like NPCs. Like, let's talk like this is a video game. This is not for my Monster Maniac series, but I was playing around with different styles. I based this guy off Negan from Walking Dead. I love that character. And I was just drawing different characters from my mind. Like, this is I think from my Amazon story actually. Okay, this page, however, is one of my favorite pages because there's a lot going on here. But this is April from before the witch. This is how she looks with glasses. This is the mechanic teacher. I based him off of Vinny from Atlantis. It's supposed to be the janitor, but I based him off the character from Venture Bros. I'm changing his design though because he looks just too much. I also based him off of Hosto Gato from Billy and Mandy. I'm trying to change it up though. This is the nurse from the story. This is the math teacher who I based off of my dragon lady from my last semester of college. This is the English teacher who I based off Milo from Atlantis, but I also added a little bit of Harry Potter-esque to him. He still looks too much like Milo, but we'll see how I have to change it up. This is Jack again from before. Their first interaction together. Lisa obviously is crushing on him. He's such a sweet guy, and he's just giving her hat back. And then this is one of her friends from the future, and I inked her, and she just says, "School life has its perks. Teachers, like students, have their own unique quirks." Okay, this is from when Monster Maniac Ultimate, is it Ultimate? This is when it was so big. Another comic drawing I was practicing with is from my Yin Yang series. It was just a little random scene I was just thinking of practicing with perspective again and comic paneling. This is one of the comic panels, like a chapter illustrations I was working on. It was based off those manga pictures that you sometimes see, or comic paneling pictures that you see where it says like chapter 1 or chapter something, and then it says like what it's called, or like a little tagline for the main chapter. This is when I got watercolors for the first time. This is my character Melody, who you've seen before in my videos. Back to my Yin Yang characters. These are actually the two main characters right here. This is Kira and this is Kane. I was practicing again with poses, and especially with two different gender poses. This is another character from my Yin Yang series. I kind of erased the little yin blue flame pendant that comes out of there. This was also I was practicing with poses again. It's kind of like a little squished in, so I need to get rid of that part, but overall I do like where I was going with the picture. A bit more realistic drawings. This is actually from I was practicing from memory. This is one of the characters from my Incendio series. I like how it came out, don't get me wrong. It was just really difficult for me because again, I have a hard time drawing realism. Then I was going back to Monster Maniac, just practicing with a skeleton, like from the graveyard, how they looked originally as human. And this is also around the time Coco came out, so I think that's why I got inspired by it. I figured out a style for them. It's still a semi-realistic drawing, but this is how I came out with it. I love how the hair came out, and this is the main character. And here we finally have the last of the brides of Dracula from my Monster Maniac series. This is Beatrix. She is the youngest sister of the brides and also the tallest. And in this picture I was trying to draw the Wolfman again, but I didn't really like where I was going with it, but I liked the design, so I just decided to draw this as the Wolfman's father. More Incendio drawings. I was still trying to figure out the style, even though I like how this came out. But I wanted to draw her more. This was the first drawing I did of her, and then I practiced more of the design. Then there's her again. This creepy picture of her. And then there's this drawing. Again, practicing with poses and practicing with angles. And this is her. This is Sunday again with short hair. This is actually how she appears in the very beginning of the story. You see the very big difference between the two? This is actually from my Sly Cooper fanfiction. This is my character, Jenna, and this is how she looks not normally. The hair is different, but everything else, yes. You'll notice she only has one ear. That's the point. It wasn't a mistake. She really does have one ear. It was a whole big accident. This was part of Inktober right here last year. This is not part of Inktober. This was just a random sketch. This page right here was just of this girl. I just added this part because it looked too empty. This is Jenna once again, how she normally looks in the fan fiction of Sly Cooper. The hair is totally different from how she looks here, and that's actually part of the story. And to hide the fact that she has only one ear, she has a beret. This is just one of my favorite pictures. It was actually originally just inked. I just added the shades with the cool tones from my Faber-Castell marker pens. I do like how the pose came out in general though, and this was actually a lot of fun just trying to get the coloring style from the Sly Cooper series to implement in this one. More comic practicing from my Monster Maniac series. This is Lisa as a teenager and Jack the Ripper right here. The angle of his arm is a little bit off, or at least the size of it, like it looks a little bit too squished in. I still like how it came out overall. My Miraculous Ladybug sketch. This was actually when I started watching Miraculous Ladybug for the first time. I still need to catch up with it because I know recently they did the last part of the season 2 for Netflix. I just wanted to try drawing the style, and it was actually a lot of fun. Next we have just a bunch of drawings compiled of one of the characters I did draw. Actually, let me see something. This girl, I wanted to draw her again, and this is them. This is just a compiled picture of her expressions. And just 2 random characters right here. They're related to her though. When it comes to these 2 pages, I'm not much of a background artist, but I do like doing these 3D aspects for interior design. This is just from Yin Yang. This is Kira's bedroom, and this is supposed to be Kane's bedroom. There's a very big difference in how the 2 look, and there's a bit of things going on around here. And this is Kane's bedroom. It's like an attic design to it. And then in next page, this is Marina in the style of My Hero Academia. I actually liked her design so much that I actually created a My Hero Academia character based on the design. Next we have more Monster Mania characters. This is my rendition of the creature of the Black Lagoon with a bit of a Zelda-esque style to it. And we have the mummy, or the pharaoh. Yeah, I named him Pharaoh, but he's based on the mummy from the Monster Universe. Then I do like a Wind Waker drawing. This is actually one of the designs I have in mind for merchandise. I think I have this in mind for my watermark. I don't know. But this is just #heartfly because that's my that's my little insignia that I do. But this is part of Inktober. This was another design I have for the pharaoh. I have a bit of a more human-like design for him. I'm still not too happy about it. I know where I'm going. I like where I'm going with it, but I have to keep practicing with it. But I also based it off Chic to help give me an idea where I was going with. Speaking of Zelda, this is actually the character from a long time ago, like from the very early pages, and this is just her as an older look. I kind of try to implement the Akira Himikawa style from the mangas. My Amy drawing for, I think, Inktober? It could be Inktober. I think it was just a random drawing. I decided to color it in though. And this is actually the time stone from the game that she originated from, Sonic CD. This is part of Inktober, I think the start of last year. This is my character Lisa just showering in a swimsuit. More drawings for Monster Mania, I guess, for Inktober. This is one of the gargoyles that I had in mind drawing. And then this is another gargoyle character that I designed. But I was also playing Persona 5 at the time, so I kind of implemented that into the design. And then some random drawings for Inktober. This is a curly hair drawing, cruelty-free. This is actually a design I have in mind to do for merchandise because I love how it looks. It's just a very retro pop art style. I think it's so cute. My Witch Doctor from my Monster Maniac series, I actually referenced a whole bunch of characters to design this guy, and I love how he came out. More comic style drawings of Lisa and her mom coming into their home, and it's not what they expected whatsoever. Another, you guys seen this video before. This is my sketch of the Voodoo Doctor and Lisa about the Jack the Ripper amulet she's wearing on her neck and what it beholds. I love this scene. This was actually one of the first concepts I designed for what I had in mind in terms of the color scheme or illustrations when I do eventually design Monster Manic, and I love how it came out so far. Okay, this is the pose for her kid form, Lisa. This is actually how she normally appears in the beginning of the story. It was very hard to draw this, and there's so many mistakes I need to fix up. Another scenario. This was around the time I was watching Chilly Adventures of Sabrina, and I decided to draw. I kind of got inspired by that show and decided to draw her, or at least someone that looks like Sabrina, and the story. Just a random sketch, but this is just a character from Sonic. I was just drawing something with I was just drawing a random character, but this is the logo for Monster Maniac that I had in mind, and I'm still working on it. And this is something else with Zodiac, like constellation designs, just different designs I was trying to work out with logos in my stories. More designs for Monster Maniac. This is a Dullahan design, one of the myths from the stories I was trying to look up for monsters in general. And it's a scenario of Jack and Lisa, where him being all creepy and crazy, and she's scared for her life, which she has every right to be, because if you guys don't know the story of Jack the Ripper, you're in for a treat. This is also a design I have in mind for merchandise, especially for t-shirts. It just basically says human body, monster at heart, and it fits well with Lisa's character because she loves monster stories. More sketches. This is actually from Princess Ingenue. This is the morning after period of one of their lovely sexcapades. I had a lot of fun drawing. This is a very different drawing than I normally do. This is Monster Maniac again, Lisa and Jack about to kiss, and I think it's a very cute scene. This is when I was drawing the boogeyman again. I was practicing with how the smoky effect, because what I wanted to do, I was inspired by Hades from Hercules, and I decided to do like the smoky effect that happens at the tip of Hades when he walks, so I kind of added that to the boogeyman, because I think it actually fits well with his character. And once again, I was trying to practice with a smile because I was trying to avoid it looking like the Grinch. He still kind of does. He actually looks more like Nurgle to me in this picture. Here is my Hero Academia character, Keiko, and I was trying to draw in the style of how Horikoshi normally draws his sketches, and I love how it came out. I think it's super, super cute. Oh wait, there's another one, but that's something. That's like a commission. I can't let you guys see that. This is my Julian. This is my vampire character again, Julian. Just practicing with his body shape. He's very lanky, very tall. But I still need to practice it because it cut off. But he's very tall. He kind of looks like a wolf because of the hair now that I think about it, but he's a vampire, I assure you. But this is pretty much the entire sketchbook, and this took a lot longer than it needed to be. But yeah, that is my sketchbook tour of at least this sketchbook. There's plenty of sketchbook tours I can do. I hope you guys enjoyed this video nonetheless. I know it was a very lengthy video and it was very, all over the place. If you guys like this video, give it a big thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel for more gaming content, art videos, Disney content, and more to come on my channel. Once again, guys, check down in the description down below my social media contacts, as well as my art commissions that are updated on my Twitter account if you guys are interested. Also, check out my Redbubble shop because I have some of these drawings on merchandise if you were interested. Be sure to hit that notification bell if you haven't already, so that way you'll know when my next video goes live. And with all that said, I will see you all in the next video. Bye!